guys, it's me, Tori, the T and C&T blogs. I hope you liked my last video, Going Green Acai Bowl. If you haven't watched it, click on our channel and check it out after you watch this video, of course. Give it a like and subscribe, please, to both this video and the last video. And of course, now moving on, I'll be showing you how I make my flashcards and my way of using them most efficiently and productively. I hope you like it. Okay guys, what you're going to need are a stack of index cards, a highlighter, a black pen, and 4 to 5 colors, either all the same shade of each other or different ones of a markers or pen, doesn't matter. I personally like making them all the same color because it matches whatever subject I'm taking notes for or making flashcards for in this case, so I can keep everything the same and matching each other, but it doesn't really matter too much. It's not crucial. You're going to need a ruler, and most importantly, you're going to need a list of whatever vocabulary for whatever class that you're going to be making your flashcards. First thing first, the title flashcard. What I like to do for any subject, no matter what it is, because I color code, so I don't need to label them as French, science, or history, I like to write the word vocabulary for the first thing. Always. In this case, I'll be writing it in French as these are my French flashcards. Afterwards, I use my highlighter to underline it in a rectangular shape. After giving it a few seconds to dry, I like to put my subtitle showing what exactly these words are from under it. So in any case, if you have a video that you had to watch to get this vocabulary from, write the title of that video. If the vocab list for the test or quiz that your teacher gave you, put test 1, maybe put the date of the test so you know when you gotta learn these all by, but something like that. Okay, you guys, for this next part, this is where you're going to need the ruler. So I personally like putting in 2 pieces of vocabulary per flashcard because I feel when you only put 1, unless you have a large amount of information that you have to put on the back, which can vary depending on what subject you're making them for, I personally think it's just a waste of the card because you leave too much blank when you are just putting 1 piece of vocab, so I tend to put 2. I wouldn't put any more than that if you decide to put 2, only because then it looks really cluttered, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of having an efficient flashcard. When doing my flashcards, I generally like to use a lighter shade or even a different color, in this case, on the first side of my flashcard because since I'm doing 2, I want to make sure I can differentiate them when I go on my other side to do the definitions. I like doing a nice thick cursive, which is why I tend to use markers. And yes, that can be hard to read sometimes, which is why in this case I generally like to go over it in a smaller cursive font and a black pen, where it's kind of like almost on the inside of what I was writing. Because not only does it make it easier to read when I look back at them or when anybody else looks at my cards, but it gives it a really cool look. I repeat the same step just in a darker shade or in a different color on the other side with my next word. Now you're probably wondering, why haven't we used the other colors yet? So what was the point of even bringing them? We'll get to that soon, don't worry. Now, you can underline these. I personally don't, but I think it's definitely can go either way, so that's generally up to you. Now, before we start writing the definitions and everything, I want to point out that when you are doing this, make sure you write the definition on the side that if you were to cut this in half along, even though this is not a very good line I drew, along this line, that you'll be able to still use each side as a flashcard for that vocab word, and it wouldn't be holding the definition for the word that would be on the other side. So if you wrote, let's say, apple on this side, when you were writing your vocab words, you would write the definition or the use of it, how it's a food, here, rather than here like you did. Just to clarify. Now, this is where the other colors come in. I generally like to mark on each side, on the side of the definition, but on each side because, there are two sides as there are two vocab words, whether or not it's a noun, and I color code whether or not it's a noun, an adverb, adjective, a phrase, you get the idea. In this case, my two words are nouns, so it's the same color, same word I put in the top corner, but that's where I like to vary in colors, as so if I were to be like just putting the abbreviated point, or maybe just putting a square, I know what exactly I was referring to depending on how much time I have. Now, to make sure you still know how to differentiate when you're doing your flashcards, I generally would mark with the color you did the vocab word with. That's why I separate the two colors on each side. And then in that mark, I would write using black pen again the word that was this is for in the top corner. After that, it's a breeze, you get the idea, just write the definition. To get the most out of these flashcards, I recommend reviewing them for 5 to 10 minutes either every day or every other day, rather than putting them away until you need them for a test or a quiz and having to study for an hour to 3 hours, maybe 2 nights before or even 1 night before. Though I understand we are all in quarantines and schools are still trying to figure out testing, it is still necessary we use these cards almost every day until we have them memorized, and even then check in on ourselves and make sure we still know them after 2 weeks or so, continuously. Because now that school is not as personal and we don't have as much interaction with both our teachers and our classmates, it's much harder to develop an understanding of the curriculum as we are now online. It is crucial that we still are able to keep up our grades and still maintain ourselves and our mental health with it, so we rather not stress, which is why consistently doing these so we don't have to stress over them later is so crucial. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. Like, subscribe, give me some feedback, give me some ideas of what you might want me to do next. If you want, please check out the Going Green Acai Bowl. And just letting you know, I know the font I chose to write my flashcards in are not the most aesthetically pleasing. I have done better fonts beforehand, but these flashcards were supposed to be quick, so I wanted to do a quick, easy font that everybody could get the hang of. But if you want me to post a video about all these different fonts I like doing, some are more complicated than others or take more time than others even though they are pretty simple, let me know and put them down in the comments.